Hey everyone, this is Serhat Marasligil from Boombit. I'm the head of game design and operations, and I will be talking about 20 tips to kickstart your hypercasual career. Before doing so, I will be giving you a small information about Boomhits and Boombit. We're the biggest worldwide mobile game developers and publishers. We develop and publish our own games and cooperate with other studios from around the world. And we are highly experienced in developments, publishing, user acquisition, ads, monetization, and BI. And we are here to help you out with publishing your games. We have over 1 billion downloads, and just 200 millions of it came in 2020. We work remotely, definitely in this time and age. And now, let's get started. Number 20, simplify your way of thinking. Hypercasual games are all about simplicity. Hypercasual mechanics are all intuitive in nature, and hypercasual teams are all in real life experiences. You don't need to go around and create a new world. Just a slice of real life is more than enough for users, and more complexity will scare off hypercasual audiences. And the reason for that, we have 2.5 billion people in hypercasual, and there are a lot of different segments and age groups. So to keep a common ground, you have to keep it as simple as it is. Hypercasual is just one tap games, very easily onboarded, very easily played. So all you need to do is keep it simple. And in number 19, start with a theme or a mechanic, never both. Find a theme and a mechanic that you want to work on. Once you're ready with a simplistic approach, all you need to do is pick one. And I mean just pick one. Basically, mechanics are the main core of the game: running, merging, stacking, slingshotting, whatever you can think of in terms of controls and mechanics. These are the engines, the schemes that run your game, and teams are the narration part, like running as a monster, stacking heals, switching shoes, merging cosmetic items, so on and so forth. So they are the concept of the game that you're using with the mechanic you have in your hands. And then add the other remaining part. Once you pick the theme or mechanic, start finding a suitable concept part for your game. Look at the games that share your theme or mechanic and see what is missing. And this is usually a great start, as you will have a blue ocean on your hand, meaning that no competition whatsoever. And if you try to do it both at the same time, you will restrict yourself without a reason, because having freedom of movement for your creativity is a must. And so you need to have just one foot stable and other free to roam, meaning that if you have a mechanic in your hand that you want to work on, you would find it much more easier to cycle through teams, or if you have a team on your hand, you will be able to cycle through different mechanics without having any problem. Number 18, chase trends, not unicorns. Every day, keep your eyes on the top 25 games. These are the games that gathered enough attention. Examine them and try to understand why people are downloading those games. Because top 25 means that there are millions of people downloading a specific game, and you will really have it. You will find it very helpful to be understanding those appeals on those games. But in the same time, keep your eyes on top 250 as well, because these are the games that might go into the top, and more than so, you will find that those 250 games are the games that are directly getting into top 50 positions, because once a game is starting to scale, it will be going into 250 as a jumping point, and so these are the games that you need to keep an eye out as well. But when it comes to unicorn games are rare to find ideas or mechanics that are brand new and disrupting, and these usually require investment in sense of time, development, or just money. But untapped teams are easier to find, but they come with two risks. Either someone tried and failed, or there's no market for it. And if you decide to try anyway, make sure to restrict your scope and test on a budget to quickly see indicators of market appeal, to not get stuck on a project or a theme that is going to require a lot of time investment, a lot of money investment. You wouldn't want that in your start of your career. Number 17, Scamper is your secret sauce, and I mean really a secret sauce. It is an abbreviation of substitutes, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, and remove, and it has been used in many creative fields, and that is including gaming industry as well. So, substitute meaning replacing a thing or a concept within the game. Combine meaning uniting, combining, or merging several mechanics, themes, or features of this game or any idea. That means it's just to adjust the game to fit into another theme. Modifying is the changing of color, the size of the character, or the character itself to fit base game or base idea into a new theme or a mechanic. Putting to another use is basically stripping the mechanic or the theme from the game idea or another idea and use the remaining part for another. And removing is basically removing obstacles, locations, characters, or features from the game to simplify it. So whenever you have a nice idea but you're not sure if that's the way to go, be sure to iterate as much of it with the scamper. Or if you know that a game is very good, going very well, and you want to do something similar but completely different, put it into the scamper process to at least change two or three things. So basically, use two or three letters here to get a completely different game up because creativity is something that is not persistent. You can't be creative all the time, but to iterate upon your game ideas or iterate upon the ideas out there, you can use Scamper, and Scamper is really your friend. Number 16, ask these questions about your ideas because these are the most important things that you need to answer if a game has any potential. Where is the fun? The core loop should be fun and enjoyable to keep users retained. And what is the fun factor of your game? And you need to be honest about this. And if you can't, just ask someone who does not play games and let them answer it for you. What is the unique selling point? So, unique selling points basically are the points that differentiate your game from any other. There are millions of mobile games out there, and there's a high chance someone did your idea and before you, or something similar to it. So, how do you differentiate it from the others? You need to have at least two or three unique selling points to call a game unique enough or to get a game to a position that it can scale without having any competition or whatsoever or one upping the competition. And the last one is who will play it? Who is the target audience? If you know this, it is a smooth way to scaling up because from 3D assets to difficulty curve, you will know exactly what you need to deliver. And if not, you should start thinking about who will play this game. Number 15, know thyself, know thy competitor. Know your capabilities first of all, because exactly know what your strengths lie, right? That is just not for your career, it's all about your life. And are you fast enough to create a complex mechanic from scratch, or are you better off tweaking a template? Knowing these will help you to decide which project you should go for first. Know your speed is the second part of your capabilities because you need to know how long does it take for you to, I don't know, get dynamic camera scripts out. How long does it take for you to start a template or just tweak a template from scratch? How long does it take for you to get a working prototype? Knowing your timing is key to planning ahead, and we will be talking about planning in a second. The other things that you need to know, of course, are the competition. Whatever game or game idea you decide to work upon, always check first to see who is moving into the same territory or idea or who already had a game out just like that. And check the best crossing games on your subgenre to see where they are so you will understand who you are competing with and what they are doing. And always keep on the lookout. And if you check the market and couldn't find any game ideas or any games that has been released, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be the same case. Because while developing your game, there's a high chance someone can release it before you. So check the charts daily to see the newcomers and make sure your idea is fresh as ever. Number 14, scope twice, code once. I mean, this is one of the most important things, one of the most risky things that is going to be happening to you in your career because this is the hit trap many of the studios and many of the newcomers are getting into. You need to set exact scopes for your early stage prototype. You don't need highly polished models or the greatest UI for early stage prototype. It's in the name. It's early. So write down what matters the most. Clear gameplay is the most important thing that you need to have in your early stage prototype. So this is your highest priority. To UI polishes, these are the lowest priorities if you ask me when you are getting your first footage up. Then the most fundamental and basic UI would be enough for you. Sprints are your friends. And I'm not talking about getting into agile methodologies right in your start of your career, but just break away the whole game up to 1 to 5 day sprints. So try to keep the scopes of those sprints as clear as possible. And as I've said before, know thyself, know your timing, and you will be able to accurately plan your sprints. Envision bigger and step smaller is one of the mottos that I've used in my life because writing the first line of code, it is actually hard. And before even doing that, don't delve into, oh, I can add this in a purchase or I can have this feature in 2 months, 3 months. First, you need the base game. Then you need the data to shape it. So keep your vision on a separate dock. That is a good thing. But just use it to guide you through your goal, not distract you from it. And always build modular. So having the vision, setting up small milestones to reach it is good in another context. You will know what you need to build right after you're done, right? So a modular build will help you out. So you don't need to go back each time to pass a hurdle, or you don't need to uh, change the base code or write it again just because in 2 months or so or in two iterations or so you will add a new feature that's not compatible with the framework or the first code that you have written. Number 13 is alternating everything, and I mean everything. Like the colors, the camera angles, the models, the theme itself, even the mechanic maybe. But if you don't do it, if you just try just one or two alternatives, you're not going to get to anywhere because success is also depending on the alternation and the iteration and the A/B test that you're going to do. So starting with the colors, when you're testing your first footage, try different color alternatives for everything from platform to enemies, from UI to buttons. Change every color, try everything, and try to keep the contrast as good as possible while you're changing the colors. For alternating the camera angles, many times we have found that a prototype video won't be getting attention because of the camera angle. So make sure the angle you're using shows the action and captures the imminent surroundings, and try different ones from above the shoulder to third person to first person. Try everything you can think of. For the models, a stickman might work where a realistic model was not, so make sure to try out different art style models to get the right combination for your game. And it is not always a formula that is written on stone, because in some mechanics you will find stickmans to be working much more better with abstract themes, and in some simulation games where the immersion is needed, you will need to have semi-realistic models. To try to alternate models depending on the mechanic or the theme that you're having, but be sure to try everything. And for alternating themes themselves, start with an abstract theme. If it doesn't work for you, okay, just try a completely different theme. So since you have the modular base code that you have scoped, so it shouldn't be a problem if you are following the flow of this presentation while you are starting up. So number 12 is something that you should know beforehand. It is when in doubt, just drop it. Is your prototype killing you? First of all, you need to answer that question. You're working day and night and you don't see a shimmer of light. Well, then it means it is trying to kill you. To avoid overinvesting, first thing you should know is that on average, 70 prototypes die before the 71st one hits the charts, right? So start your project with passion, but don't emotionally connect with them because you will be killing them a lot. But before killing, you need to do several things. So there is no limit to testing, but when you don't get improvement after the third test, and if you're alternating everything, it might be high time to drop the prototype and just start on a new one. But before, just keep checking camera, character, and concept to make sure that you have tried everything. Did you try a different camera angle? Maybe another theme would be suitable for the game, or maybe the character you're using is not getting enough attention. So check one last time before saying goodbye. And when you say goodbye, start repurposing your dead games. Coding with purpose comes with its perk because you will be able to reuse the scripts and frameworks you have prepared in other projects to speed it up. And after you have enough dropped projects, you will start to notice your prototyping speed have been improved by at least 30% and use your code to make it the first seed for another project. And number 11 is data beats gut. When you have no data of your own, gut feelings are your past experiences trying to predict the outcome. So they have a chance, you better use some free tools out there to look at how other games like yours scaled and in what speed. And when you have your preliminary data, while doing your first appeal test, click-through rates, cost per clicks, cost per installs, impressions give you enough information, not a definite one perhaps, but at least a preliminary data to let you know if there is something to work with your game or not. And when you have your first release, first game out there, first prototype out there, this is where you have full insight. Check churn levels to see where people are getting off your game. Collect information on where they tap and where they don't to find UX faults and where the UX churn is, and see which feature is getting you that attention and vigorously use that info on your next sprints and your next iterations because having that data means that you have an insight on what to fix next. Got CPI? Nice. CPI stands for cost per install. So let's say if your first prototype got a nice CPI value of 15 cents, let's say, or less. First of all, congratulations, because in hypercasual, getting the CPI under a certain threshold is the most important hurdle that you can overcome. You did it. Now you have to face some more challenges, just like a game, like keeping that CPI down, first of all. Understand what made the low CPI. Compare the video to other unsuccessful ones. What is the difference about them? The answer you have is the feature or concept you need to keep your focus on and deliver to users and capitalize on basically. And try to duplicate the test to make sure it isn't a lucky strike. So if it was a weekend, try the winning creative on weekdays to see if it holds up. You don't want to start pushing for higher budgets before you are sure CPI is low in general. And start planning ahead. Now the next step you should take is creating more footages to keep lowering the CPI and work on the build or iteration that would be on par with the CPI videos, the footages that people are seeing. So you can start monetization, and that is the fun part. But before the fun part comes, we need to talk about the churn. The churn is where people are leaving the game. So there are several things that causes churn, and I will be giving you a small taste of what to do or what to check first. So is your onboarding right? The first three level churns are usually associated with onboarding. So are you giving enough tutorial feedbacks? Is it clear for users what to do? So give your prototype to a friend and just watch them. And I will be talking about friends and family and playtesting in a second. But just let them play the game and see if they are struggling. This will give you clues about your first time user experience. Maybe there's no problem in the first three levels, four levels, but if there's an outlier churn level where massive amounts of users are leaving the game, and if you're sure there's no bug whatsoever, it could be that that level is too hard. So make sure to have level failed or attempt events to see if people are struggling to pass the level and try to correlate that with the churn. So if nothing applies, if there's no specific churn, but 50% of the users are leaving the game after 5 levels, 7 levels maybe, make sure to give some bonus levels, a different mechanic, or change in level design to keep the game entertaining because that means that probably your game is too repetitive in nature And after 5 or 7 levels, and if they see no improvement or whatsoever, they will just leave the game and say, that was fun, at least for 7 levels. Coming up to the bread and butter monetization. So you need to monetize the game the right way. I will be talking about interstitials, rewarded, frequency of those, and where should it start. But monetization is a whole career and a whole different um, ball game, if you ask me. So there are a lot of good models, there are a lot of good articles out there, but we can talk about it for hours. But I will just keep it simple, as we have said before. So I will be talking about the main models that you're going to use, the main things that you're going to use, and how to use them. First of all, interstitials. So interstitials are your basic tools for monetization, right? And they're the dread of the users, to be honest. Show them too much, it results in uninstalls, negative feedbacks, and heated comments. And show them little, you're not getting any revenue. These are usually shown in between levels, and we will be talking about their frequency. But rewarded videos, earning more than interstitials, rewarded videos are where users watch an ad to get something in game. So they are incentivized ads. So reward multipliers in level ends, premium skins, skipping a level, giving a tip, and maybe seeing another bonus level. These could be your incentives to let people watch an ad. The frequency of interstitials are one of the main things you need to A/B test, and you need to A/B test them hard. Find the sweet spot where not many users getting irritated and you are getting enough revenue to keep building on the game. But there are at least two different methodologies when it comes to the frequency. It could be the depending on the level, it could be depending on time. It really depends on the game you're having. If the game you're having is level based and there are level end screens, you can show them there. But if your game doesn't have any level end screens, like an endless runner perhaps, you will be wanting to use that when the users are failing, you can show the screen then. So you will need an intermission for interstitials to work. But if you want them to be shown at mid game, you can do it, but it is an interruptive and not very liked method to show interstitials, to be frank. And where should all the monetization start? Especially for interstitials, you want to start showing them after users are onboarded. So that means that after your tutorial levels, you should be starting to show your interstitials. But mind you, this should be no longer than 3 levels to not lose any revenue. And number seven is documentation is your friend. Because when you document stuff, just like in history, you are starting to see the action, reaction, and the consequences of whatever you did. So there are three documents that you need to keep updated and keep creating. That is high concept documents, game design documents, and changelog. High concept documents, these are your starter briefs. Whenever you have an idea, broadly write it down, breaking down the basics like the theme, the controls, unique selling points, and potential competition perhaps, and that will be enough. It shouldn't be more than 1 page. But game design documents, on the other hand, these are the atomic planning documents for your game. Roadmap, level design, monetization flow, and game economy and difficulty should be all here for referencing while coding, right? And last one is critical. It is the change log. Whenever you change something, write it down. This way, when metrics start going up or when metrics are going south, you might have an idea on what exactly affected it, so you can focus on those parts or just roll back. And believe me, it works. I'm talking out of experience. And now the very, very fun part. Friends and family are basically free playtesters. Whenever you have your first early stage prototype, just give it to a friend, your family, your kid, whatsoever, and make sure you just watch them and tell them nothing. For anyone not you, the game will be a fresh experience. Don't tell them anything and see if they are getting into the game fast or easy enough. Find the pain. Ask them to narrate when they're playing, because by directly hearing what they are thinking at that moment, you can get a small peek into the player's mind. This is great, especially when you're trying to figure out if UX is decent or not. And ask them to tell you what they didn't enjoy. They can tell you what they enjoy, but your main focus should be on what made them irritated, what made them angry, what they didn't understand. This way, you will be able to prevent churns or remove features that doesn't bode well with your players right before the start. And number five, from day one retention to month one retention. This is a very long path, but to give you a small boost in your first day 7 to day 14 retention, I will be talking about several basic things. Content check. First of all, see if you have enough content for 2 days worth of playtime. If you don't, you will have a hard time seeing retention data, as many users will either finish up the game or churn before that. Always start with 10 to 20 levels for first retention test. And coming up to the daily missions, if you're struggling to retain users even though the content is enjoyable, introduce daily missions for a reason for your players to come back. And lastly, push notifications. Sometimes we forget a song we love so much just because there are tons of others. Imagine your happiness on hearing a song you love on the radio after a while. So this is what push notifications feels like because players are playing a lot of games. They're consuming a lot of content, and maybe they forgot the game, even they like it, right? So push notifications are the greatest way to do it. Just make sure you're not spamming. Probably day 7 up to day 7 push notifications are good, starting with the first 24 hours, then 48 hours, and lastly, as a Hail Mary, you can send them a day 7 notification saying, "We missed you." That usually works. Number 4, ask for ratings, check the reviews. Use rating modules. Both iOS and Android have native rating pop ups that you can use. After the initial levels, ask players if they're enjoying the game and rate your game. If they like your game, they will give you 4 stars, 5 stars, and if they don't, they will give you 1 star and write you a very heated negative feedback. But positive feedbacks are nice for your ego, and negative ones are great for your game. Follow up the negative reviews and the numbers so that you can spot what they're not enjoying and when it did start. Number three, as I've said, this is one of the most important things that you need to understand and have from the start of your career. You need to A B test. If you don't, you fail. A/B tests are the most crucial thing for a game's longevity. Not doing A/B tests is a guaranteed way to kill your game prematurely. So this is not just for testing the colors, testing the frequency, but it is also true for your content, the features of the game. Because every content after you start to scale your game, while you're getting users and while you're having positive ARPU or the revenue per user or having in-game metrics that are perfect, every content after you start to scale your game must be A/B tested so that you can confirm it will be a positive addition to the game and not screw up the whole initial success you were getting. And I'm again speaking out of experience where we had very nice initial metrics, but we didn't really A/B test the additional features that we thought that the players are going to love, but they didn't. So we need to roll back, and that causes a loss of 2 or 3 days development time, and in addition to that, a lot of user acquisition problems and a lot of documentation problems. So basically, whenever you're going to add new stuff, just try it out first and then roll out to the 100% users. Coming up to your next bread and butter that is hard to get, but when you do, they're sweet. They're the in-app purchases. So you should know your options. You don't need to delve into the in-app purchase right before the start, but when you have a nice player base, it's good to know what you can add. So starting with no ads. You can have a simple no ads in a purchase that will remove all ads from the game, mostly found in hyper-casual games. It's a good way to give users who love your game to enjoy an ad-free experience. And you can have a subscription model or a season pass or a VIP pass. Well, if your game holds enough content update potential, you can have a season pass, a subscription model that will give a steady income for users, and that will be giving you a steady income as well. So this is like giving them soft currencies, hard currencies for a week and each week, giving access to more content, and these kind of stuff can work with subscription model if your game holds the potential. The currency parts are one of the easiest way to get in-game purchases to a game. If your economy holds soft and hard currencies, it's a good idea to sell them. So users who need a bit of hard currency will be tempted to pay a small price, and when they do, it's the chance of them getting a bigger purchase increases. So make sure that you have the nice small package, a small currency pack, and a medium one, and the large one, and keep the large currency pack much of a deal for the users. So whenever they just get one or two, they will say, okay, it doesn't make sense. If I get the large pack, it will be much more cheaper for me. So try to keep the numbers in that sense and in that balance. And for the cosmetics, many times the premium skins are usually sold for rewarded videos, but in some cases, you can have cosmetics that could be purchased directly with cash or via hard currencies. Not all games have that potential to pull off, but if yours do, make sure to include this as an option as well. This is the last tip that we will be giving you for kickstarting your hyper casual career. It is rinse and repeat. You don't face this stuff. And this is true for anything that you will be doing, but especially in hyper casual when the development cycles are short and when you are trying out at least 100 prototypes. From your mistakes and successes, you need to get insights, because not every time you will be able to find them, not every time you will be able to get a success, and not every time you will be having a meaningful failure. So always write it down, so that whenever there is a new thing coming in for you to put into your documentation, you will be able to check them all again and see if you're learning from your experiences. Number two would be trends are always changing. Even though you can find your strength and find a theme that you love so much, that theme or that mechanic can be out of the trends, can be out of the hype. So you need to always keep up with the trends and never stuck in one place. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't find your forte, you shouldn't find your strength. If you're good at a certain mechanic or a certain theme, try to build and improve upon that while you're trying to disrupt that subgenre as well. So if you find yourself in a position where you're making runner games and you're making them good, try to improve and disrupt the runner subgenre. Try to build up upon that mechanic, and maybe try hybridization with another genre, another subgenre, another mechanic, so that you can always be on a platform or on a place where you're strong enough to pull off another success. Before going out, I will be telling you about how to contact us. Since we are a gold sponsor of the Digital Dragons conferences, check our virtual booth to get more info about the company and the offers. And in case of business relations, you can always use contact@boombit.com, or for recruitment processes, you can always send an email to jobs@boombit.com. And hopefully, I will be seeing your games out there in the top charts and maybe working together. For that, you can find my email right here in this slide, and I will be seeing you. Thank you.